Inherent Vice. Certainly a curious movie, very unusual, based on a presumably unreadable novel. Bits of it work, bits of it don't. It doesn't really add up to much. As a coherent narrative, it's not very strong. I think for the most part I understood the story. I wasn't particularly puzzled by it until the end. The last half hour or so, coherence started to run out, or at least my acceptable level of understanding ran out, and I couldn't really work out why people were doing what they were doing. On first viewing I found it to be quite funny. I laughed a whole bunch. On this second viewing it was not half as funny as it was before. As an overall coherent story, it was not very powerful, not very strong, didn't make all that much sense and didn't really add up to a hell of a lot. So really what's more important is, did it work on a scene by scene basis? And I think yes, for the most part, but also no a whole bunch of times. Quite a few scenes are overlong and are more just confusing and average rather than powerful or interestingly weird. Some of it just isn't weird enough. Some of it's just a bit too restrained, and some of it's just not colourful enough. A little bit more eccentricity, I guess, could have added a lot to the movie. And that's not to say the movie isn't very eccentric and unusual in its bits and pieces. It was overlong. By about the 90-minute mark my interest started to drift, and certainly in the last 10 minutes I was sort of just going, okay, we get it, can you just end now? I can't honestly say I overly enjoyed the movie. I think definitely it works much better on first viewing. I'm not sure a second viewing really helped the movie, because it was definitely less funny and less intriguing. On first viewing you're trying to piece the bits and pieces of the story together. On second viewing you more or less know the story overall, and I personally just didn't find the overall story to be that interesting, so I wasn't that concerned about putting the puzzle together and working it all out. I would say I understand the majority of the movie, just the overall, at the end bit it started to get rather fuzzy, and I really don't care. I don't think Thomas Pynchon, who wrote the novel, probably cares what the actual overall story is. I would give it 5 out of 10. It was watchable, it was interesting, but it was a bit bitty. Interest levels went up and down a bit too much. It has some strong scenes and it has a few weak scenes, and the pace is a little bit slow in places. I think certainly towards the end it feels a bit slow, and I did watch a chunk of the end at times 2 speed just to give it a kick and to move it along, because my interest, as I said, had started to drift a tad. An interesting oddity, but it really doesn't add up to a heck of a lot overall, and it is more disappointing than good.